Attack on Titan is quickly shaping up to be a cornerstone of modern anime. With beautiful visuals and animation, a gripping story, and an incredibly visceral portrayal of characters, it's not surprising that it's now one of the most hype anime in the market, and rightfully so. But one of the greatest aspects of the show that doesn't seem to be as widely acknowledged is the soundtrack by Hiroyuki Sawano. When Attack on Titan Season 3 Part 2 finished last summer, and then the respective soundtrack was released, I could not stop listening to it for months. I listened to it in the car, when I played games, and even the few times I actually went to the gym. The second part of the third season was so good that I listened to the music long after the season ended to continue evoking the same emotions that the show made me feel. Another one of Attack on Titan's strengths is its characters and how they're portrayed. The core cast can hardly be considered static in that we watch them grow and change, both physically and emotionally. Considering the notoriously fast-paced nature of the show, it spends a respectable amount of time fleshing out the characters, their backgrounds, and their motivations, and the music goes hand in hand with that. Some of the most important characters in the series seems to have their own theme song, something akin to how each JoJo or MCU hero has their own theme songs. What's interesting here though is that the theme songs for the characters in Attack on Titan more or less revolve around a similar melody or chord progression. They all sound reminiscent of each other, some more than others. The characters where this is most clearly conveyed is Eren, Levi, aka the show's bad boy tsundere, Sasha, aka cute potato girl, Ymir, the show's female tsundere, Krista, aka Historia, aka Eren's side chick, and finally Grisha, aka Eren's dad, aka the show's daddy.
Dad!
Not that I'm into that. So strap yourself in as I go into way more detail than you probably care for, picking apart the characters and the music. Now, before we go any further, we'll be going over some pretty major spoilers from the anime, specifically about the characters' backgrounds. I heavily recommend that you watch the anime series before watching this video. Additionally, I am no Adam Neely. I am far from an expert on music theory. This video is more about how I interpret the music, how it made me feel, and what it means to me. We are first introduced to this parallel between a song and a character's development with Eren in the first episode. The song Vogelm Kopfe makes its debut in the scene where Eren's mother gets eaten, but only the second half of the song gets played in this clip. Vogelm Kopfe, German for bird in a cage, serves as a parallel to Eren's life. The song starts off calm, with beautiful choir vocals representing his peaceful life in the beginning when there was no threat of titans. Everybody lived relatively uninterrupted, normal lives, but the piece slowly starts to pick up in intensity as the rest of the orchestra begins to chime in with the main singing vocal, representing the danger of the titans drawing closer. By the time we reach the part of the song that's used in the anime, the piece has developed a louder dynamic. It developed from soft and peaceful to incredible grandeur to match the emotional weight of the scene that's being played in. The rhythmic bass drum sets the pace for the scene, the horns blare adding intensity, the choir soars up and down the melodies adding a sense of humanity, or more appropriately a loss of such. The choir and horns hold the note for just a second longer, building up tension before finally being released by the bass drum to enter the resolving chorus. It's at this point that the Titan grabs Eren's mother and is preparing to devour her, as Vogelm Kopfe comes to a head in the background. This is the ending of the opening episode of the entire series, with the catastrophic event of the Titans breaking into the walls for the first time in over 100 years, and Eren losing his mother. This scene and the episode as a whole is the defining moment for him, and is the main motivation behind Eren's journey into the Soviet Corps for more or less the rest of the show. Therefore, it's fitting that this theme and melody would set the overall tone of the show, and would come back again during many of the climactic parts of the show. Next up we have Levi, Attack on Titan's more sophisticated Daryl. He grew up in the underbelly of the city, where the poorest of the poor live and die without ever seeing the outside world or the sun. It's implied that he grew up without a father figure, and his mother died when he was young. This caused him to grow up being calloused and emotionally distant from others. He tried to limit the number of people he cared about on a deep level, which is a way of limiting the chances of losing someone he loves. The first time we see an instance of someone managing to claw into Levi's life and make him care about them is with Farland and Isabel. However, we are shown quickly in the episode after why Levi was so hesitant to get too close in the first place. He even admits that he has always struggled with trusting others, and then later events remind him of why he struggled in the first place. Farland and Isabel's deaths brought Levi to the brink of his sanity. Consumed by rage and sorrow, he most likely would have perished long ago, either from reckless abandon or depression, if it weren't for the unwavering hand offered to him by Commander Erwin at that moment. This is Levi's defining moment, where he chooses not to look back, but rather look forward and continue marching on with Erwin and the scouts. The song Soloist as Ymir plays at the end of the episode, and is a much more intimate song with simple, somber guitar chords and vocals. Just like Levi's character arc in the short 2-episode OVA, Sawist as Ymir starts off quiet and lonely with isolated guitar strumming before picking up the emotional singing that is the chorus and ending of the song. Levi started off as someone trying to mind his own business and staying inside of his shell until his closest friends forced him out of said shell. Unfortunately, it wasn't long after that Farlan and Isabel left Levi alone to deal with the emotional repercussions of their abrupt departure from the world. Sawist as Ymir pairs beautifully with Levi's character arc, solidifying it as his theme. Next up we have Sasha, who isn't exactly a main character, but she, along with other side characters in Season 2, gets a main character moment when she is forced to fend off a Titan from a helpless young girl whose handicapped mother just got eaten in front of her. Ever since Sasha was introduced early on in the first season, she served more of a comedic relief role, the lovable foodie who is willing to commit high crimes just to get some meat. However, this is the first time that her character is truly tested, where she must prove to herself that she has what it takes to be a part of the Survey Corps, and to protect others. This isn't exactly her first time doing anything that's admirable, as she had a badass moment early on in episode 4, where she saves a fellow soldier from falling to his death. Though this is the first time she was forced to do so in more or less complete isolation from others. So, as Sasha struggles to save this little girl without her proper ODM gear or swords, she gets backed into a corner where she quite literally throws her life on the line just to take this single Titan down. The song Counterattack Mankind version 2 plays in the background, with the orchestral strings building up tension throughout the entire scene. The soft bass drum builds suspense as Sasha begins to doubt herself, up to the moment where she finally, with the slide of an electric guitar and uplifting horns entering the fray, she hardens her resolve as she thrusts forward and stabs the Titan in the eye with the arrow in her bare hands. This is Sasha's defining moment as she proves to herself that she deserves her place in the Survey Corps. She isn't a coward, and she has what it takes to protect others. Because of this, in my mind, Counterattack solidifies itself as Sasha's theme. Despite the song having been used in many other scenes, this is the one that was most powerful and stood out the most to me. Then we have Ymir, who for the majority of the show comes off as a cold throwaway character, but then suddenly becomes one of the more complex characters in the whole series. As she and Eren are being taken away by Reiner and Bertolt in Season 2, she recounts her past as a homeless orphan being arbitrarily selected to be some kind of figure of worship. She says that she had always struggled with lying to herself and prioritizing others over herself, until one day this leads to her demise and being punished and transformed into a mindless Titan. What follows is an introspective monologue that plays over a montage of her journey as a Titan, which prompts the soft, melancholic piano and strings to start playing from the song Call of Silence. With this song in the background, she explores the idea that she never truly lived for herself, and that this was her punishment for it. She got into this mess because she allowed herself to be thrust around at other people's will. Slowly and quietly, the beautiful vocals begin as it is then revealed that she ate a friend of Reiner, Bertolt, and Annie to finally regain her human form. When she finally comes to, the vocals go from the soft low notes in the background to the elegant high notes, demanding authority in the foreground, paralleling Ymir's shift in attitude and philosophy. After she regains her memory, she vows to lead a more honest, self-fulfilling life rather than a life of lying to herself and pleasing others like before. This is Ymir's defining moment, with Call of Silence unequivocally being her theme song, as the emotional throws and inspiring vocals of Call of Silence perfectly encapsulates Ymir's journey to become the person that we've gotten to know throughout the first couple seasons. These four characters come from varying backgrounds with wildly different motivations, but end up coming together in the Survey Corps all the same, to kill Titans and to try to liberate mankind from the looming threat of destruction. This convergence in life paths is paralleled by the similarities and musical patterns of their respective theme songs. All of these songs, much like the characters they represent, start off quiet and soft until they reach the chorus, where they pick up an intensity and emotion, demonstrating the characters' development from their varied, relatively weak backgrounds to the heroic soldiers that we know in the present. Each of the songs sound different from each other to begin with. But then you reach the chorus of each song, and then you start to realize that they're all familiar somehow.
You will know you're reborn tonight.
These songs are a musical embodiment of the journeys the characters take to get to their positions in the story. Eren goes from a powerless kid to a soldier with conviction. Levi goes from a loner trying to stay under the radar to a captain in the Survey Corps. Sasha goes from a self-conscious and doubting country girl to a confident, decisive soldier. And finally, Ymir goes from an orphan going along with what anyone tells her to do to being one of the most independent and emotionally strongest characters in the show. The music perfectly reflects the characters that they accompany, and that is exactly why each one of these songs and moments from the show are some of my favorite out of any show. To further drive home my point, two other characters with theme songs that we get a lot of backstory on are Krista and Grisha. However, these two characters differ from Eren, Levi, Sasha, and Ymir, and their differences are reflected in the musical motifs of their songs. Krista's song, Zero Eclipse, and Grisha's song, TKT in its many variations, are distinct from the other songs discussed with the previous four characters. And there's one simple explanation for this divergence in musical theme consistency. Krista and Grisha come from wildly different backgrounds compared to the other four characters. Krista, despite also experiencing a troubled childhood, was a descendant of royalty from the Rice family. The Rice family plays a critical role in shaping the world of Attack on Titan. And because of this relation to the royal family, Krista is inherently different from the others despite other numerous similarities. Her theme song, Zero Eclipse, which is played in the pivotal moment where she decides to rebel against her father's wishes to become a Titan, sounds nothing like any of the other themes discussed. Its upbeat and authoritative vocals that are present from the beginning to end sounds more like pop punk than anything else in the soundtrack. The lyrics of the song represent Ymir and Krista's relationship, mirroring Ymir's emboldening of Krista to be herself and to not be shackled by others' wishes like Ymir was when she was younger. The tone of the song, and the singing specifically, accompanies Ymir's sentiment perfectly. And so the song is played in the moment that Krista finally takes her advice to heart and judo slams her father into the ground, which is followed up by the lines in the chorus. The lyrics are essentially Ymir telling Krista that she's bigger than the cage that she feels trapped in, and that she should no longer hide from her true self. So, despite Zero Eclipse differing so much in style from the other theme songs, it still perfectly captures Krista's development as a character. Grisha's theme, TKT and its many variations, are played throughout the entire second part of the third season, throughout many scenes where he's not even present actually. In fact, the first time that I remember the theme being played is when Levi is trying to decide whether to save Armin or Erwin, before eventually choosing Armin to inherit the Colossal Titan. However, I think that this theme is more closely tied together with Grisha, since this is the season that we really got a thorough look into his past and in the world of Marley. This connection between TKT and Grisha is clearest whenever we first get a flashback into Grisha's childhood. This short flashback lasts only a couple of minutes, showing Grisha and his sister going outside to play and chase after Zeppelin. During this scene, a variation of TKT is played, where instead of a full orchestra being the focus of the song, a mandolin takes center stage. The use of a mandolin in this version of TKT sets an upbeat and almost naively optimistic tone to the song, representing Grisha's innocence in the flashback. While TKT can be considered Grisha's theme, it also acts as an overarching theme for the entire season, and though it's not quite as deviating from the general soundtrack's genre like with Zero Eclipse, TKT and its variations are similar to Zero Eclipse in that they have no melodic resemblance to the other characters' theme songs. This deviation from the musical motif established by the other themes helps distinguish Season 3 Part 2 from the rest of the series, and helps emphasize the expansion of the world of Attack on Titan. We finally get a look into the world beyond the very walls that the story had been obsessed with up until this point in the series. The clearest example of the new musical motif representing the monumental shift in the story is the ending of the last episode of Season 3 Part 2, where, in the place of the end credits, a variation of TKT is played over a montage of past and future events. This montage of events helps shift the focus from Titans to a war between humans, alluding to the conflict to come that is most likely the Marley-Eldian War. And so it's fitting that this change in focus is accompanied by a change in music theme consistent throughout Season 3 Part 2. I may be reading too much into it, but the show to me feels like it very carefully chooses the pieces of music for each scene and moment, down to the individual character. Yes, there is some overlap with song usage and musical motifs that weren't mentioned in this video, but in my mind, these were some of the standout moments that solidified these pieces of music as their respective characters' theme songs. From the elegant strings to the peaceful piano, to the electrifying guitar, to the blaring horns, to the emotional choir singing individual vocals, It all feels like elements that were thought out to truly bring out the most emotion possible from each scene, and I feel like Attack on Titan nails that. Much like with voice acting, the music can be overlooked when done well. It goes without saying that the show would not be the same without the incredible voice acting, and so Hiroyuki Sawano's work is no exception. For me, the music is one of the defining and greatest elements of Attack on Titan. All that's left for Attack on Titan is to stick the landing with Season 4, and if it does, with significant help from the beautiful musical choices and direction, I believe that it will be a serious contender for one of the greatest anime of all time. Hey everybody, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making this video. I have a couple more ideas coming up that I'm going to try to work on and try to get about a video out a month, but we'll see how that turns out. I have a couple other projects to work on, and I also just have work. And so if you have any other ideas, please let me know. I'll try to get to them and I'll try to see what I can do. Otherwise, if you could please like, share, comment, and subscribe, that'd be great so that you can be notified for whenever I do come out with new content. And I appreciate you guys making it till the end, and hopefully this will be a start of something great. I'll see you all next time.